This is a very small representation of the many great auditors in our community. This conversation right here lasted about 2 hours, and if you want to see the entire thing, which includes some technical glitches we all had to work through, I'll drop the link in the description. In this segment, we discuss why we have channels and what our purpose is within the community and, in the broader sense, I guess, in the world. If you like these roundtable discussions and you see them as beneficial, let us know if you want to see more featuring other content creators. And give us a list of your favorites in the comments below. You guys enjoy the video. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I producing content? What's my aim? What do I hope to accomplish? And that's kind of the question that I asked you.
Yeah, and let's start from the bottom. Let's start with Johnny. If you were asked that question, what would your response be, Johnny? Why do you do what you do? What's Johnny 5-0 at its core?
Well, I think you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. I can.
I think it's just I think that all of us here have influenced dozens, if not hundreds, of other people and given other people the confidence and a little bit of legal knowledge to go out there and film the police. And that in and of itself is worth the price of having a channel. Just the people that are in our wake. I've had my channel for a little over 4 years, and the people that are in our wake, everybody here has a powerhouse channel. Everybody that's in our wake has been no, not everybody, but everybody. A lot of people have been inspired and maybe outraged, whatever. And
yeah,
what a great way to just go get up and pick up a camera, because let's face it, it's it's the easiest way to create some change without, it's just a simple act, and it's something that you've got on you at all times. So I don't know.
Yeah, and you know what? You could tell it's happening because you hear, "Can I talk to your supervisor?" And from people that are in a trailer park or just on the outliers of regular society, and you kind of feel like they wouldn't have said that before. They got that from somewhere. I see that. What about you, Lackluster? What is Lackluster at its core, at its heart? Why do you feel like you do it? What wakes you up every morning and has you doing that 9 hours of editing, 10 hours of editing?
Well, okay. I was a hardcore bootlicker. I spent a lot of time in the military. I worked for Los Angeles City Fire Department as a dual function firefighter paramedic, and I licked the boot because I was the boot, and I was like brought up to believe that that was the only way, and anybody that went against it was evil, and then I got out of all of that, and I found myself watching this community, and it's such an honor to be on this fucking panel tonight. I started watching James Freeman, Johnny 5-0. Brian was one of the first I ever watched, like with some of his old talking about going to the anti-gun rallies and stuff, and it started shifting my brain a little bit, and I started getting into like, okay, what if government's not the way? What if it really is this evil entity, and all it does is take from people and not produce anything? And my mind shifted, and I had this big cataclysmic like mind fuck, and then I had my own experience happen to me with CSPD, and I think that was like the final thread that needed to be pulled to let the whole sweater unravel. It was like, oh, okay, it can fucking happen to anybody. And
well, explain that, Lackluster, because I don't know that the average viewer, I think they all know the video, but I don't think they know that that's you in the video.
Oh, well, I guess you'd have to find it.
Well, it's
like
basically a SWAT team comes to your neighbor's house.
Yeah, well, I called them.
Yeah,
I called them. And because my neighbor said he had a gun and he was going to kill himself, and I was like, oh shit, I'm not going over there. Fuck that. And so I called CSPD, Colorado Springs, and they showed up, swatted up, and and I was letting him like in my property, like, yeah, go use my backyard, and he usually smokes cigarettes back there, and giving him all this information and stuff, and then they geared up like they were gonna go kill him, and didn't even try calling him, you know, and I offered like, hey, here's his phone number on my phone, you could try, and I'm sure he was awake, but yeah, that whole thing, and I was on my property, and they told me to go inside, and I was well out of the way, and I think just everything from watching these guys and you know, just kicked in.
So they turned on you. They
turned on me. Yeah. And so when that happened, I threw that video up and it went crazy. And then Johnny 50, he actually, I think I sent it to a couple of people, and Johnny responded and said, hey, that was dope. And it did really, really well as far as people watching it. So I just started making more videos, and they've just taken off from there.
Yeah. Yeah. And what, because you were in gaming channel first. You were a gaming channel before you found this, and then you realized you were really good at it.
Yeah.
What about you, James? I see you as like kind of like the forefather. I see you as like being, I don't know who's been on here the longest, but as far as going out and going into the community and you know, addressing these people face to face, what is your channel to you today? What are you getting out of it, and what do you feel like it is?
You sure the audience is ready for this? I mean, I've said it before, but some people say I'm a pessimist when I tell the honest truth about what I feel like I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I tell people I'm documenting the downfall of a civilization. Mm-hmm. And I'm an optimist in that I believe that the principles of liberty that were not taught to me at a younger age are being taught now. And so my optimism is in an ability to rebuild in a way where liberty can thrive. But a lot of people talk about, oh, James, you're fighting for our rights, you know, you're defending our rights. And I'm like, I really don't think so. I genuinely believe that they're completely gone. And my goal is to kind of show you, you know, if we had rights, then nobody would ever be arrested for recording the police. Nobody would ever be arrested for any of this stuff. The fact that it happens every single day, no matter what the law says, no matter how much case law we get, no matter how many lawsuits there are, you know, my goal is, hey, have I not shown enough times? Has Johnny 50 not shown enough times? Have all the Lackluster, you know, Brian, all these guys, have we not shown enough times that we don't actually have rights? That's my goal, is to show people, because we can't make any changes, any real changes, until people start to realize what's really going on. And that's that we don't have rights, that we live in a system where the guy with the biggest stick wins. And the guy with the biggest stick is typically government. Right. You know, the police are the muscle behind it. But my goal is,
James, I totally agree with you. There's this illusory element of rights and freedoms that we have. And like you said, we are only as free as the most powerful guy in your neighborhood allows you to be, because if they align forces against you, if a SWAT team comes to your house, you could be the heaviest armed individual in the world. They have unlimited resources. So in that sense, I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And to piggyback off what James is saying, I was just thinking about this the other day. Like, you can take a Benjamin Franklin quote, a Thomas Jefferson quote, and it's applicable exactly to today. And who are we to say the Ming Dynasty, the Greeks, the Romans, none of these civilizations survived? And do we seem like we're going down the right path? I mean, they're telling us what to do. You know, it's our job to question authority. It's our job to question tyranny. But it just seems like it's been written in the stars. You know what I'm saying? Like, does anybody else ever think like that? Like, who are we to say that we're going to be the first civilization that's not going to go under? No? Can you guys not hear me?
It happens throughout history. This is the cycle that civilizations go through.
Yeah, and it's things like, just learn from history. Just listen to what they're saying.
You know, one of the most difficult things I think for people to grasp, because it was extremely difficult for me to grasp. I came from kind of a similar background to Lackluster. I didn't serve in the military, but I was a hardcore bootlicker, you know, troops fight for my freedoms, back the blue type of guy. I believed that I was a statist. I believed that if the government wrote it on paper, we should obey it. And so, you know, it really, the change comes when each of us individually change ourselves. So for me, you know, it's about James tolerating the things that his neighbor does that annoys him. And you know, that I allow my neighbor the same liberty that I want to have for myself. And that's really where change is going to come from. It's not going to be me changing anybody else. I can only change myself.
Yeah. It just seems so scary to me that they're giving us the instructions, you know, the times change, but the things that happen don't, and history repeats itself. So in the fact that we're just, you know, and I'm not saying we're, but, you know, they have a way to kind of separate us and lull us into the sense of security and dullness where we just are happy with our iPhone, whatever, and our internet, and, you know, why rock the boat, you know, but we'll end up having none of it. Now, I want to introduce, it's Paul Unsolved. Paul, I apologize. I'm not familiar with your channel. I do so much editing and stuff that the last thing I want to do when I'm done is watch another. But let us know where you're from. And you come under very, very good recommendation from Brian. He couldn't stop talking about you. So where's your channel from? What do you do? How is it? What's your business model?
You've probably seen this video.
I probably have.
So yeah, can you hear me? Because I'm trying to get my I'm actually
hear
over somewhere else right now. But yeah, am I good to go on audio?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So yeah, basically what I do is uphold universal law, what we call common law, right? Some folks may refer to it as constitutional law. I mean, it's all the same thing as far as I'm concerned. It's right from wrong, the truth from illegitimacy, right? Illusion. So obviously authority is an illusory concept. And yeah, that's basically the majority of the work that I'm here to do, is to hold these public servants accountable and responsible for their actions so that we can be free and ascertain our God-given rights. So yeah, I mean, like you guys were saying before, I'm a little bit out of breath. I'm sorry, but like you guys were saying before, I don't necessarily agree. We have rights from the universe, creator-given rights, universal law-based rights, and they're only as good or effective as we are in standing in them, right? So we will not have them, and we will not have them available to us if each one of us does not understand them and stand on them. Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean,
is that the same thing like inalienable rights, or they hate when I say regardless of where you're born, you're looked at as always having the right to freedom, property. What is it? Life, liberty, and property.
Pursuit of happiness. Yeah, which is basically property rights. But yeah, I mean, not every nation goes under that, but I don't live in those nations, and even if I did, it's still illegitimate to me to try to contend anything other than what's common sense to any conscious or awake individual, which is that no man or woman has a right to interfere with anyone else's rights. And obviously your rights are to do anything that you want to do as long as you don't cause loss, injury, or harm to your fellow man or woman.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's possible that that negative aspect of having rights or not rights is more demonstrable than actually convincing somebody that they do have rights. Because while I agree on the one hand with what James just said about it's not that we have rights, on the other side of it, it's more demonstrable that other people don't have the right to initiate unjust force and violence on peaceful people. And how we know that is because if they're honest with their own heart, they don't want to be awoken at 2 o'clock in the morning by that SWAT team like Lackluster was talking about. They don't want to be walking in a shopping mall and somebody picked their pocket. They don't want to be pilfered. They don't want to be extorted. If they say that they don't mind that, then they're either insane or they're lying to you. Everybody else doesn't want that. So while you can't really demonstrate that, that person has the right to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, it's more feasible to point out that that person right there doesn't have the right to infringe on that person's life, liberty, and property. Because if they did, then they would be a hypocrite against their own soul, which brings you back to universal law. Everybody universally knows that we just want to be in live in peace. We don't want to be harmed, and we don't want to be stolen from.
Yeah. And I remember, Brian, you said something really, really poignant one time. You said, when they come and take our guns, they're going to come and do it at the end of a gun. And I don't know if you ever saw the African-American guy. I think they turned his speech into like a campaign message, maybe for the NRA or whatever. He's a heavyset guy, and I think he's in Virginia, and he's at this little city council meeting. And he goes, listen, I'm a law-abiding citizen. So if you tell me I have to turn in my guns, I'm going to do that. But you know who isn't? The Blood and the Crips on the other side of the track.
Well, that's the thing, is like,
come and turn their guns in.
well, government is nothing but a gun. Nothing they do is done without the threat of a gun in your face.
Yeah. Yeah. And when he said that, they're going to come take your guns at the end of a gun. And I'm like, that's really oxymoronic.
I think it's we do well to quote George Washington here. And a lot of people are like, George Washington, do you not realize he's a Freemason? There are just truths in the universe. He said, the government or the state is not eloquence. It's not reason. It is force. And like fire, it's a dangerous servant and a fearful master. Oh, they'll pretend to be servants while they're protecting and serving the crap out of you, which is kind of the point that James was making there, is that they will always do violence. They will always initiate that force, and you will never want it, but they will always exert it.
Exactly.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. I'll have a link to each content creator that you saw in this panel discussion in the description below. Be sure to check out their channels and support them by subscribing and watching some of their videos. Maybe tell them you saw them on this panel. Give us your thoughts on what we talked about here, and let us know if you want to see something like this again. If you do, how often and who do you want to see on the next one? List some of your favorite auditors in the comment section below. While everybody's different and has their own style and approach, the end goal here is to foster unity and carve out a better world for each of us. And we do that through exposure, good or bad, and accountability within the ranks of those who call themselves public servants. See you guys in the next video.